God shower mercy upon all of you. Today the topic is that why religion is superior to science and science is superior to atheism.
This is going to be really good. Thank you, Suwa. I'm going to enjoy this.
There are various reasons to prove that a religion is superior to science, but I would quote here only three reasons.
3. As many as that. I can't even think of one. Go on, educate me.
Number one, religion tells us about exact purpose of life, whereas science cannot tell us about exact purpose of life.
Okay, well, first of all, religion doesn't tell us about the exact purpose of life. Religion is a blanket term for many, many thousands of belief systems, none of which have any evidence particularly. They're all just claims, and they conflict with each other. They claim different purposes and different mechanisms. It's all very strange, really, to say that that gives us an exact purpose of life, when in fact, all it really gives us are conflicting opinions. Science, on the other hand, well, it's not designed to give us any purpose of life. That would be the why of life, wouldn't it? Science is interested in the how of the material world, which includes life, but isn't only life. But you can't get an ought from an is, if you like. You can't get a why from a how. That's what we call the naturalistic fallacy. Just because nature is this way doesn't mean that it ought to be how we live our lives. So there is no claim that science can give us the purpose of life. That's not what it's about. It's a little bit like, well, it's what we call a category error. It's like claiming that gazelles can jump high and that makes them better than fish, which can only swim. They're different things. So far, you're not doing very well, Zawar. You're just demonstrating your inability to understand the difference between religion and science.
Number two, religion provides us guidance, true guidance in all areas of life, whereas science is not able to provide us true guidance in all areas of life.
Okay, so religion gives us guidance in, for example, stoning people to death, or if they pick up sticks on the Sabbath, or slaves obey your masters, even the cruel ones, or turn the other cheek, which of course is really, really helpful when you think about, for example, Islamist terrorists who want to destroy our society. So whilst religion gives us ideas about how to live, I don't think it's reasonable to say that they're particularly good or clever, or that they're terribly helpful. Science, on the other hand, doesn't try. Again, it's the gazelle and the fish. Science isn't about telling us how to be. It's about telling us what is. How we choose to live our lives, well, as a society, that comes from different processes, like politics, for example. It's chalk and cheese. Again, all you're doing is demonstrating you don't understand the difference.
The third reason is that religion has only one true positive nature, whereas science has dual nature, positive as well as negative.
Religion has only positive, whereas science has positive and negative. I have no idea what that means. Perhaps he'll tell us. Let's see.
But science is superior to atheism.
No, he's not going to. He's moved on to something else. I can only assume that he's talking about what comes out of the various processes. And yeah, it's absolutely true that the advances that are made through science can be used for positive or negative impacts. So, for example, you can use science to create a machine that will keep people alive in an intensive care unit. That's positive. You can also use science of chemistry, to create nerve gas, as was used to horrific effect in World War One. So yeah, you can get good and bad out of science, but that's not the science's fault. That's the way that people choose to use the knowledge that we get from the scientific process. And the same can be said of religion. I mean, just look at the Crusades. Or if you want to go a little bit more recent, have a look at the travesty of the way that trans people are hated for being treated in America, let alone in Saudi Arabia. So I don't think that point really holds. No, it's just silly. I'm sorry, but let's see what's next.
Because of various reasons, but I would mention here only two reasons. Two reasons are enough to prove that science is superior to atheism. Number one, science cannot claim that without evidence, but atheism claims that without evidence only on behalf of illusion.
Right. Science can't claim that, whatever that is, without evidence. Okay. Science is about taking an observation, coming up with a testable hypothesis which is tested against the evidence, you're quite right, to see whether or not it holds up. And if it holds up, then it becomes a theory. And if it holds up to many of these tests, then it becomes a strong theory. And if it continues to hold up and continues to survive, it becomes such a strong theory that in common parlance it's known as a fact. Evolution would be a good example of that. But atheism, again, it's a category error. Science makes claims and then tests them. Atheism is a response to a single issue, which is, do you or do you not believe in a God? And atheists, such as myself, will say, sorry, you have not met your burden of proof. You're claiming there's a God. I'm not claiming there isn't. There might be hiding behind an asteroid somewhere. There might be a little wee God that's absolutely terrified of everyone, hiding in some corner of the galaxy that's completely uninhabited, and it's frightened to show its face. I have no way of knowing because I can't access that to test it. But I don't claim that there is no God. You claim there is a God. You have the burden of proof. You need to demonstrate it, and until you do, I remain unconvinced. The burden of proof is yours, not mine.
For example, science has not evidence against God, so science never claimed that there is no God.
Absolutely. Because by definition, science is only able to access, and therefore only able to test, the material world. And God, if it exists at all, according to you people, is metaphysical. It's outside of time and space and matter. Therefore, science has no access to it. Therefore, it makes no claims about it, one way or the other. Once again, you got the gazelle and the fish confused.
Whereas atheism has no single evidence against God.
No, because atheism, or rather atheists like myself, are still waiting for you to prove, or at least to provide some evidence that we can evaluate.
But it claimed that there is no God.
No. Atheism does not claim that there is no God, and most atheists, myself included, will simply say we're not convinced by your claim that there is. You have not met your burden of proof. As I said, there might be a cowardly God hiding behind an asteroid somewhere. I don't know, but I do know that the God of Abraham if the Bible is to be taken at face value, is impossible, because there are too many internal logical contradictions. It defies the laws of logic. It just cannot be so.
Second reason. The second reason is that science is never against divine religion without pertinent reason.
No, because it's not the task of science to investigate religion.
And science has no pertinent reason to fight against God.
It's a fish, not a gazelle. It's not interested in whether or not there is a God, because it can't test whether or not there is a God. What it can do is test the claims made by the religious. So, for example, the science of geology. Geologists can very definitely test for claims like the global flood, as indeed can sociologists and anthropologists, because we have societies that survived from before the time that the flood was supposed to have happened until now. And they never mention it. They weren't wiped out because of it. So science can test the claims made by religious people, but it cannot and has never claimed to be able to investigate whether or not there is a metaphysical God.
Or divine religion, whereas atheism is against divine religion without any pertinent reason and have no any pertinent evidence against divine religion or God.
How many times do I need to say this? Atheism is simply a response to a single question: do you believe in a God? No, because you have not demonstrated that a God exists. I don't believe in a God for the same reason I don't believe in leprechauns. I don't need to go and turn over every clover in Ireland to demonstrate that there isn't a leprechaun before I can say I don't believe in leprechauns. Nor do I need absolute knowledge of everywhere in the universe to be able to say that the God of Abraham cannot exist. Certainly not as described in the Bible anyway, because, first of all, you haven't met your burden of proof, so I don't believe it, but I'll go further. I'll make a positive claim, because there are so many internal contradictions that defy the laws of logic.
So such reasons are enough to prove that religion is superior to science, whereas science is superior to atheism.
I'm sorry, all you have done is demonstrated your lack of understanding of religion's relationship to science, science's relationship to atheism, and atheism's relationship to religion. That's all you've demonstrated here, is that you do not understand what you're talking about. I'm sorry, Zawar, but I know this is only your first video. We've been waiting a week for you to produce it. I'm glad you finally got round to it. I'm afraid all I can give you is, a 2 out of 10 for effort? It's nonsense, mate. I'm sorry. It's just nonsense. Anyway, I'll wait for the next one.